Hi everyone, this is week 5, and this week we're going to enter into chapter 5 and talk about network problems. And before we get into that, I'd like to do a very brief review of what we covered last week about sensitivity analysis reports. And we know that a lot of information given by the sensitivity report, and we'll just look at them together briefly. Okay, while I talk about this, I like you guys to think about at the same time. And if you can repeat, or even when I point to something, you can just say that yourself. That would be great. Okay. The first table does not give much information except for the final value of the current objective function. And starting from the second table, which is for the decision variables, adjustable cells called. We talk about that allowable increase and decrease. These are for the values for the objective function coefficient to change without changing the final values of your decision variables. Okay, and then we talk about if there is a zero value here, what does that indicate? That indicate alternative solutions, right? And then for the reduced cost, we talked about this at last time, but here we can look at them together. So the reduced cost is the impact of a forced change in the decision variables and its impact on the objective function value. Okay, for example, here this third decision variable has a reduced cost being negative 13. That means if we force 1 unit of change, make it 1, then our objective function value need to subtract 13 because that's the impact on the objective function value. Then we talk about the second table, the allowable increase and decrease being the values within which the right-hand side can change without changing the shadow price. Okay, and that means the shadow price will only hold true when the right-hand side changes within these ranges. Okay, and the shadow price is the impact on the objective function value given 1 unit of increase on the right-hand side. Okay, and we talk about the relationship between the shadow price and the reduced cost and the marginal profit. That's one thing very important, and want to make sure that you all know how to calculate that. Okay, so given the shadow price of resources and the marginal profit of a certain product, you know how to calculate the reduced cost of that certain product. Okay, and we'll also talk about that 0 here means the problem is degenerate. The problem is degenerate, and when degeneracy happens, there are several things that we listed, including that a 0 here may not indicate the alternative solution. Okay, and for both parts, the allowable increase and decrease is for 1 change, while the other coefficients remain to be the same. And for simultaneous changes that happen here or here, we have the 100% rule, which is to calculate the change as a percentage of the allowable increase or decrease and sum the percentage changes together. If the percentage change does not exceed 100%, then we know that the final value of the decision variables or the shadow price will still hold true. Okay, so to help you better organize those information, I created a summary sheet for you, which you can find from the course Moodle site. Go to week 5, click on this sensitivity analysis summary. So it gives you a very clear summary of how to interpret the sensitivity report. So I would suggest you to print this out or keep it in hand, keep it handy to check and make sure you get all the information organized. Okay. So that's the review part for the sensitivity. So, and next, what I want to talk about is case study 3.1. So it's due next week, and it was assigned to the team of I think the team members are BJ, Shifa, and Apple Jisa. Okay, so to do the presentation, but every team need to turn in a report. And there are two hints that I want to give. First, not really a hint, but how to interpret question number 4, the 10,000 penalty. Since people have different interpretations in the past, here I just try to have this unified. So it's a $10,000 penalty, regardless of the time that's this 90% of the order is not fulfilled. Which means that if one of the distributor's order is not fulfilled at 90%, then they will have a 10%. They will have a $10,000 penalty. It's the same way as if say all the distributors' orders are not fulfilled at 90%, they still just get one 10,000 penalty. Okay, so that's how to interpret this penalty part in the fourth question. And another thing I want to emphasize is that please do not use the if statement associated with your decision. Okay, because in the past, students use this if statement to say, okay, if the order is not fulfilled at 90%, then they add this 10%, add this 10,000 penalty, which is not going to work in solver correctly. Okay. I know we talk about one place where we use the if statement, which is in the retirement investment problem, problem 3.9. Okay, when we set those values. Okay, so those values, is it long term or not? We use this if statement to see if this value is greater than 9, then return 1, otherwise 0. Why we could use this at this place is because this if statement is not associated with how solver is going to calculate our decision variables. Okay, so it's not involved in the calculation of the decision variable. It's only giving us information. So what I'm saying is this 1, 0, 1, 0 are fixed no matter how the decision variables are going to be calculated. Okay, this 1, 0, 1, 0 value will only change if we change those inputs. Okay, but in that case study, if you try to use this if statement and have it associated with what the solver is going to suggest, then solver won't work with it correctly. Okay, so try not use it. So that's the hint for case 3.1. And also the other thing I like you guys to do is to give me some feedback of the course so far. Okay, and you can do that at the Moodle side again. So take this short class survey. It has 3 questions, ask you about the pace of the class, which topics you feel that you're not really good at and we should spend more time on, and if you have any other comments or suggestions. Okay, so it's a very short survey that gives me a good idea, especially those of you who are online. So I get a good idea whether there is something that need to be improved. Okay, so that's the review part.